All right, Heat Nation. So we finally got the win against the Celtics. It feels like it's been a while since we got a win versus the Celtics in the regular season, and I have the information pulled up in front of me here. And it says the last time we got a win in the regular season, it was 2023. So that's a long time, guys. A long time coming. Look at all of these L's that we had before that win last night. Now I get it. They were missing Kristaps, but that is not an excuse. They were missing Kristaps, and I think Drew Holiday. But again, that's not an excuse because they're a better team. They have the better players on the court last night. Didn't look like it last night because if I'm not mistaken, it looked like JT got locked up by Pelle Larson. He was 1 for 7 at a certain part of the game. And, the final score was very interesting because Eric Spoelstra definitely could have pulled the guys early. They pretty much gave up 4 minutes left into the game. They put their subs in, and Eric Spoelstra said, "Nah, I'm just gonna keep my guys in," all the way down to like a minute 30. And so the final score was 124-103. Almost like Eric Spoelstra was saying, "Damn, I'm tired of losing to the Celtics." And as we look at the box score here, Tyler Hero finally broke the 19 point mark. When I look back at Tyler Hero's games versus the Celtics, he couldn't break the 20 mark. Like, they kept holding him to under 20. And, he was going closer to 30 in a situation where maybe if the game was competitive, maybe he would have to score 30. But, yeah, we had total control of that game. There was a point in the third quarter I thought they were going to come back, but they did not come back. Alec Burke had an okay night, and Davion had a solid night. And even Highsmith had a pretty good night for Highsmith. Now, Kyle Anderson definitely was doing his slow-mo thing, man. He's starting to grow on me. I think I owe Kyle Anderson and Pell an apology because at one point I was like, yo, why are we even playing Pelle Larson? I mean, I saw him play in the Summer League and thought he was pretty good during the Summer League, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I wanted him to play in the regular season like Kello Weir. Kello Weir, I wanted to play in the regular season because I always said, like most Heat fans, that Bam is not a traditional center, so it's always good to see him get 30 plus minutes. And he had an okay night, but the first quarter I think was where he did most of his damage, and they tried to look for him on the lob, but just having him there as a threat definitely makes it easier for the other players. So that's something we got to consider. It's not always about the numbers, but we got the win. The Celtics, they looking very flabby and sick last night. I mean, 16 points from Jason Tatum. Like I said, I'm pretty sure Lawson was locking him up at a certain part of the game. Sam Hooser was in foul trouble part of the night. Early, Luke was killing us. And Derek White was doing Derek White things, but he wasn't as dangerous as he was the last time the Celtics played us in Miami. But Jaylen Brown, I didn't realize Jaylen Brown cut his hair. I was used to seeing Jaylen Brown with braids, and I see somebody out there with a fade or brush cut, and I'm thinking to myself, like, who the hell is that? Guess he's finally back. But he had a solid game, but obviously they needed more from his co-star, Jason Tatum. But yeah, not having Kristaps is not an excuse for the Celtics fans. We don't want to hear it. You got your ass whooped. I saw the post game with their coach and Jaylen Brown, and they knew that they got outplayed. You can't say something like this game doesn't mean anything because you play the game to win, guys. You can play the game to sit there and lose to a team like the Miami Heat, who you obviously know you're better than. But the win streak continues, which is great. So as we look at the advanced box score, we can see that Tyler Hero had a solid night. Very good plus minus with Tyler Hero. And that's because he had no turnovers. And that's the kind of game you need for Tyler Hero versus a strong defensive team like the Celtics. Even without Drew Holiday, they still got, solid defenders. Pritchard's pretty good. And White is pretty good. So no turnovers. I mean, we had a pretty low turnover night. 4 turnovers. And that's the key for the Miami Heat to win games going forward, especially if you're talking about closing out the season good after losing 10 in a row. You got to keep your turnovers low. So 4 is great. They had 13 turnovers. So this is like one of the biggest deficits in terms of like turnovers for each team I've seen. I've never seen us have like single digit and the other team have like 13, at least not in a long time. So yeah, as we look at the shooting from Bam, 9 to 15, 2 for 3 from 3. 2 for 6 for Tyler and 2 for 3 from Pelle Larson. So good game for Larson. But we go to the man of the night, Mr. Slow-Mo. Slow mo plus 17. Davion had a solid night too, plus 21. The highest plus minus on the team. Again, one turnover for him, one turnover for Kyle Anderson. Kyle Anderson was 7 for 11 on the floor and 1 for 2 from 3, and he hit all his free throws. So he had a pretty solid night. Davion Mitchell with the 7 assists. Tyler Hero almost flirting with a double-double with 9 assists. So overall, great night from the Miami Heat crew, but now we have a back-to-back and we got to play Memphis. And Memphis, they've been losing games, and I heard they fired their coach. And before we leave this page, just want to look at Jason Tatum's shooting numbers here. 4 for 17. This is pretty bad for your superstar. Jaylen Brown shot 50% from the field, so he did his thing. Derek White did his thing. But yeah, your other superstar didn't show up. He got locked up by Larson. So this is the schedule coming up for us. We have a game tonight. Since this game recap is actually the day after the Celtics game. So we got the Grizzlies tonight at 7:30. And then on Saturday, we've got the Bucks. So I guess you could look at it like 3 games in 4 nights. But the Bucks themselves also don't look that great. I mean, they don't have Dame. I know Dame's suffering from the blood clot issues. So they might be beatable. Initially, when I looked at the schedule, I had us losing to the Celtics. They proved me wrong. And Memphis, I don't know. I think I was kind of iffy with Memphis. We have a chance of beating Memphis, especially with them firing their coach and them being on that 4-game losing streak. And I think we can beat the Bucks. There is a chance that the hardest team that we play on the remainder schedule is going to be the Bulls. And maybe the Pelicans might be a sleeper because, you know, when you got a team that got a whole bunch of like role players trying to earn contracts in the offseason, man, they might try hard. So we can't sleep on these guys. But the Wizards are completely ass and the 76ers are ass. They're tanking. So those should be win-win. Should be a win versus the Pelicans. We got to be careful with the Bulls because the Bulls have been playing pretty well lately. And the Bucks and the Grizzlies are going to be probably the 2 toughest matchups left. So as we look at the NBA, we moved up in the standings in front of the Bulls because the Bulls have been losing. But our last 10 were the same. We're 6-4, but we're on a 6-game winning streak. The Hawks are on a losing streak. They lost 2 in a row. And the Pistons might just have locked up that 6th seed there. So we're going to be in the play-in tournament unless the Pistons... I mean, I don't even think the Pistons... I think the Pistons could literally lose every single game and still be in the 6th seed from the way it looks with the 34 losses versus the 40 losses and the 41 of the Miami Heat. And also the Magic's a pretty solid team. They're also 6-4 in their last 10. I think we're going to end up being the 8th seed when it's all said and done. But the possibility of going to the 7th, which, you know, if you're in the 7th seed, I think the difference is you just play the 8th seed for the 7th seed. And if you win, you stay the 7th seed. So it would be nice to get that 8th seed and beat the 7th seed, or get the 7th seed and beat the 8th seed. In the Western Conference, the Grizzlies are 44-32. They're in the 8th seed. It's crazy how the Western Conference, their playoff teams are always in the positive. Like there's no under 500 team in the West usually, unless it's some kind of weird off year. So, you know, the Dallas Mavericks pretty much don't have a shot to make it to the playoffs outside of the play-in tournament. Which I guess that was the league's way of trying to prevent people from tanking. So these 2 teams have a chance to get into the tournament if they beat the Grizzlies. But yeah, the Grizzlies could lose the game versus us and still be in pretty good standing. So I'd like to see how this game goes. It looks like the Memphis Grizzlies recently lost to the Golden State Warriors. Jimmy Butler actually scored over 20. That's not a normal thing for Jimmy Butler, but I don't know if he got hurt or not. But, you know, enough of the Jimmy Butler talk. Just was curious to see who they played last, and I saw they played the Golden State Warriors. And as you can see with the Warriors, it's really Steph Curry's team, obviously. 52 points, 10 rebounds from Steph Curry, so you got a double-double from him. And you know, that's what you're gonna have to expect. I mean, if we had played them with Steph Curry, it would have been a much harder game. You look at the Grizzlies side, who's really doing damage for them. John Morant, 36, man. He's gonna have a rough night tonight because I know we're gonna focus on John Morant. So it's gonna be the others that are gonna need to step up because John Morant's probably gonna be the primary person that the Miami Heat defense pays attention to. I'm not worried about Jerron Jackson. A lot of people are saying Jerron Jackson's better than Bam, but right now he might be slumping a little bit, and they might be neck and neck. They might be pretty much the same player, especially with Bam shooting threes. Zach Edey, obviously not the best rookie center because Kello Ware is the best rookie center, and he's slow. So I expect Kello Ware to outrun this slow ass motherfucker. And Desmond Bane, he might be the X factor, man. He's probably going to be the guy that steps up for them. But yeah, we got to get the win versus this team, because it definitely will mean more to us to continue to win games. But I don't know. What do you guys think about the Celtics win, and how do you guys feel about going into the play-in tournament, probably being the 7th or 8th seed at best? Do you think it's possible?